question that people wanted to know about you were, what do you do every day on a day-to-day basis? So I know people at the gym will see you for a couple of hours, or probably like 4 hours.
Right.
They're maybe there for only 1 hour of it.
Right.
And then some people see you on your YouTube, or they see you in competition.
Right.
They want to know, like, what time do you wake up? What time do you go to sleep?
Interesting.
Yeah, like maybe start with your morning routine when you wake up and walk me through a day in your life.
I feel like sometimes that's kind of like a passive aggressive question. Like, what do you do all day? Like, come on. But, I mean, much of my, I guess, endeavor in the day is composed of exercising. And along with that, there's preparing to exercise, and then the exercising, and then recovering from exercising. And that can pretty much take up a whole day, depending on how you approach it. But I am definitely not a morning person. I like to sleep in. I think if I was left to my own devices, I'd probably go to bed around 12 or 1 and probably get up around like 9 or 10. But I've been trying to sort of rein that in a bit and reorganize that just to make life easier with my partner, Lindsay. And because from like a biological perspective, or sort of like a paleo approach, like it's arguably better quality sleep to not be like sleeping in the sunlight, right? So like if you theoretically were to go to bed when the sun set and get up when the sun rises, that's probably the best quality and quantity of sleep that you're going to get. But I'm quite a ways away from that, but that's definitely in the back of my mind. So yeah, I'll usually get up around like 8 or 9 if I'm feeling motivated. I have kind of an elaborate morning routine that involves some green tea, some supplements. I usually take a fish oil with some bone broth kind of first thing in the morning. That's been kind of just one of the things I try and do to give myself a little bit of to kind of stay ahead of the curve of like just all the other maybe less than ideal, like less than healthy supplements, and just the amount of food and like carbohydrates and like just massive quantity of macronutrients that I have to consume as an athlete. Yeah. There's a lot of, I think, knowledge and research that's just beginning to sort of come to light out there about like gut permeability and leaky gut with like athletes and performance and things like that. I had a colleague in university in our degree program who did a presentation on gut permeability in triathletes, and it was like, oh, that actually has like, there's a lot of factors involved with like having an elevated core temperature and body temperature for hours on end, and that can have an effect on your intestinal permeability, all things like that. So finding a way to sort of combat that with some fish oil and some bone broth and some other supplements, try and get that in first thing in the day. And then depending on what's up for training, like if I have a particularly big training day, I might do a bit of an E-stim. So one of the protocols that a few people have recommended is like a few hours before your session. So let's say you're going to train, some rowing and some thrusters, like it's a really quad intensive day. Yeah. Maybe a few hours before that, you might hit an endurance program or a strength program on your quads with an E-stim, like a Compex or a Power Dot. I think you might be familiar with some of those programs. So that's basically, for those who are unfamiliar, it's like some electrodes you put on your muscles, and then let's say if it's the Power Dot device, you can actually use your phone and an app on your phone to tell the electrodes to contract in a certain frequency and duration, and that'll maybe give you a strength stimulus. And that's a great way to sort of activate the muscles without fatiguing them too much, and also sort of prime the motor units you want to use later in the day. So sometimes I'll do that before, like if I know I have a CrossFit open workout coming up, or a big sort of bodybuilding style session, to kind of get a little bit more performance out of that. Then I'll have a big breakfast, usually a big pile of rice. I usually eat like dinner food for breakfast. So I don't, I'm kind of off eggs. I've been off eggs for 2 or 3 years, just as sort of a food sensitivity thing that came up. I did some food sensitivity testing a couple years back, and I was off the charts for eggs and almonds, which are kind of, like eggs is common for people, almonds maybe not so much, but so I said, I'll give it a shot, and I took it out, and I missed it at first because that used to be my breakfast. Like every day was like 4 to 6 eggs and a bunch of veggies and stuff, and maybe not surprisingly, I guess by just eating the same thing over and over again, you can kind of develop some food sensitivities, apparently, especially if you have increased kind of gut permeability leaky gut, intestinal permeability things from elevated, training intensity and stress hormones and things like that. So it all kind of links together, funnily enough. So then finally I'll get myself into the gym, do a pretty elaborate warm up, which usually just involves like, I have a few like things that are always issues for me. So if it's like a rib thing or a shoulder thing or an ankle thing that I'm working on, so I'll try and take care of those things that are, they need to get do some rehab. And then I'll do some specific preparation for my session. So things that are more relevant to what I'll be attacking that day. And then I'll start actually warming up to like the weights or the intensities or the full movements that I'm going to be doing that day.
Definitely getting into your warm-up is on the list of
right on.
things
okay.
I want to dive into.
Yeah. Cool. So in the past, I would finish my session and just sort of like jet home, get some food in me and chill out. What I've been trying to work on fairly recently is doing a bit more of a cool down, because I spend a lot of time like warming up and preparing, which is great, but some of that is almost like delayed recovery stuff I need to do from the session before, right? So let's say I do like a killer CrossFit open workout. I'm tired as heck. I just go home. There's a lot of stuff that didn't get done for recovery in terms of stretching out, cooling down, recycling some of those metabolic waste products that are just like sitting there rotting in my muscles. So I feel like maybe if I do a bit more of an effective cool down, I can then the next day feel a bit better and not have to warm up as much. Right. I guess we'll see. It's a new experiment.
You might change up the warm-up routine.
I might, yeah. Trying to shorten it up.
Yeah.
And then when I get home, if I'm smart, I'll pack a meal to have right after I'm done training. Yeah. So I'll have hopefully either done some food prep during the week or rely on the helpfulness of my partner Lindsay, who maybe is actually at home right now if it's a Sunday, doing some cooking. So I'll take some of her leftovers from her weekly food prep. She counts all her macros and stuff like that. Right. So she will make a bunch of food, weigh it out, portion it out into dishes, and she has her meals for the week. I don't do as strict or elaborate of a weighing and measuring system. I basically just sort of take her leftovers and make some of my own stuff if I need to, and kind of go by feel when it comes to macronutrients. Basically, the rule of thumb is I always need to be eating more. Yeah. Like for someone who's training to compete in CrossFit, depending on how you train, most people are going to be essentially both high volume and high intensity athletes. So you need, high quality of fuel, high quantity of fuel, and high frequency and intake of fuel. So it's kind of like, training is a full-time job and eating is a full-time job. So It's like when in doubt, just eat more.
Eat more, yeah. I think that's pretty important. A lot of people in fitness are like, well, when in doubt, eat less. They're like, I skipped a meal. Well, maybe I'll lose a couple pounds now or something. Yeah. Versus if you're competing, you almost want to be, it's not too bad to gain anything. You don't want to lose any of that hard-earned muscle.
Right. Yeah, definitely different goals. Like training for health and wellness is different than training for elite performance. And it's also different than training for aesthetic goals. Mm-hmm. So you got to act accordingly. Right. I'll finish training. I'll hopefully have a meal in the microwave there. And then maybe after I get that bit of food in, that's when I might start a bit of a cool down. So I'll maybe spend 5 minutes on the assault bike, spend like 2 or 3 minutes stretching a couple muscle groups, and then I'll head home. When I head home, I'll make up a big blender shake. Probably chill out for a bit, hang out on the computer, look at some dank memes online, and
creep Reddit.
And I try not to get too far out of my comfort zone there. Reddit's a foreign world to me. Catch up on a couple chores, shower, and then just basically try and catch up on like all the life things that I put off because I was focusing on getting into to train that day, right? So I've kind of found that if I get up in the morning, if I start with a couple hours of like, like doing some emails, working on social media stuff, all these things can kind of add up and really eat away at my time. So I try to keep myself to like a mandate of my priority is prepping for the gym, getting my breakfast done, doing my morning routine, setting myself up for quality training. And then after that's done, then in the few hours that I have remaining, that's when I'll try and do some actual grown-up activities. Maybe socialize if I have energy, but mostly just recover and try and get to bed on time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you take any specific supplements before you go to sleep, or do you just?
Yeah, pretty much dependent on melatonin for like say half the year. So basically, as soon as the competitive CrossFit season starts, and the level of stress increases, the level of training volume increases, I feel like I don't want to make any sacrifices when it comes to my sleep. So it's kind of a better safe than sorry thing. I usually take a few milligrams of melatonin pretty much every night. And then often I'll find myself, I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and I'll just take a little bit more melatonin just to kind of try and smooth that out a bit and get some quality sleep. Other sleep things are like a ZMA, which is like a zinc and magnesium. I really like magnesium because it also is sort of a muscle relaxant depending on like the form of magnesium you take. So melatonin is a little bit more like is a hormone. So I haven't seen any info or research that says it interferes with your body's natural productions, but there's always that worry of like, oh, if I'm feeding myself a hormone every day, is that going to throw off my system? Yeah. Whereas I feel like, well, if you take a bit of extra magnesium, that's a little bit potentially less extreme. But so magnesium, melatonin, and then also try and get some more fish oil in me before bed. If I feel like I need a little bit of dessert and there's nothing around, I'll often have a little bit of Jack Direct's cocoa water with some ice cubes in there. So basically, just like kind of like a popsicle or an ice cream. It's nice.